Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a good week. The summer holidays have begun, so people are off in various different places, which is very exciting. But I thought, as we did last year, to release a few short talks so people can access them wherever they are in the world as a way of just being connecting together with one another, but also to be reflecting on our spiritual journey, whether we be local or staying around Amersham and Coleshill or being further afield. It's just a wonderful opportunity to do that. So we'll be doing them for the next few weeks over the summer holidays as an opportunity to do that. And today I have been, I've had the joy of putting together a sort of changing table, drawer set for the baby. And flat pack furniture is not my favourite thing, I have to say. It's always frustrating. It never really, the screws don't really go in as sort of as you'd expect them to, and the instructions never make sense. And it always feels like it takes forever, even though actually doing something relatively small. And, I thought I got away with no more flat pack furniture after we moved, but there is more. And so I've still got to build the cot and things like that. But as I was getting increasingly frustrated with this changing table and drawer set, I was reflecting on that and all that you need to do to put that together. But as I was going through it, gradually it sort of starts to take shape, and all of a sudden, you kind of, with this sort of set, it all came together quite quickly. Actually, in the end, it felt like it took forever to get to that point, but eventually, it sort of comes together quite quickly, and you recognise what you're building. Because for the first sort of hour, you're thinking, "I have no idea where anything goes or what this is supposed to look like," and eventually, bam, there it goes, and it starts to take shape. And I was thinking, often our faith journey can be a bit like that, as silly as it sounds. You know, we can feel like we're kind of banging our head against that proverbial spiritual wall, or the struggles that we're having. It just feels really a real struggle and a real difficulty to continue that journey in faith. We find ourselves at this point where we're kind of thinking, oh, it's just not coming together as I had hoped. I'm disappointed. I hoped to be here. I hoped to build this, and it just hasn't happened that way in that way I've expected. And many people go through life feeling that way, that it's not quite going to plan. It's not quite coming together as I hoped. And then one day you just find that suddenly everything sort of clicks together, that it all starts to come together, and all that hard work and all that journey feels like it is paid off. And I was thinking about the journey that the disciples go on. If you think when they're first called, they have frustrating moments, they have difficult moments. It is a roller coaster, it's up and down. And they don't, they always seem to have that thing of where they don't quite understand, where it doesn't really fit together for them. They don't quite get it. Like that flat pack furniture, it all just, the pieces feel like here, 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 and nothing, it doesn't look like what it's supposed to. And that seems to be how the disciples saw it. And as time goes on, obviously Jesus, he goes to the cross and he dies, and again all the pieces are on the floor, and there's nails here, there's all, it just doesn't fit together, it doesn't make sense for them. But then Jesus rises again from the dead, and on the day of Pentecost the Holy Spirit comes, and suddenly it just makes sense. Everything fits together. All of a sudden, it starts to look like what it's supposed to look like. Sure, there might be still other stuff to add to it, and it's not quite fully formed. But at that point, you just suddenly realize, actually, now it makes sense. And the Holy Spirit did that for the disciples. It suddenly made sense to them. All that Jesus had been saying, it all pieced together, and suddenly it was formed there in their heads. And with that, they go off to do amazing things. And I think the Holy Spirit does that. God does that in our lives. Although sometimes each individual little things that we do sometimes can feel frustrating, that we're doing all of those things and it's still not fitting together. But eventually, in time, the Holy Spirit will reveal to us where he is calling us. And all of a sudden, that thing starts to take shape. I remember first exploring ordination, and it did feel a lot like that, like the pieces were here, there, and everywhere, and it didn't really make sense. And then all of a sudden, it just sort of came together. When I was accepted for training, and then when I was finally ordained, I kind of looked back and you could see all those pieces were there, and you can now see what it was going to form, but at the time I didn't know. But eventually, in time, those pieces came together to reveal a journey ahead, which has been an amazing and exciting journey. Not a finished journey, like when that thing all started to come together, it wasn't quite finished, there was more to do. but it just began to take shape. And so we can ask God to say, where are you leading me? Where are you calling me? What is that thing that you're building that right now it's being built, but I can't see what it's building? And sometimes God might answer that prayer with a clear sign of what that is that he's building. But equally, it might be that we have to be patient and wait to see. There were days when I just wanted God to tell me, what do you want to do with my life? Just make it obvious. Send me a letter or just appear. Send an angel, just tell me. It'd just be easier. But now I look back and now I know it feels a bit silly that I ever thought that. I just needed to trust God a bit more. So we can ask God, tell me what you're building. He might tell us, or we might have to be patient as we do that. But what we do know, God is working in our lives in various different ways. He is building that something that one day we will see and we'll look back and think, that's what he was building then. And that is exciting. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are today, God is working in your life. And he is building that thing, whatever it is he's calling to you, he's building that in your life today. You might know what that is, you might not. But God works in our lives, and it's for us to just take those steps and trust that those instructions make sense, and that sooner or later God's plan will be revealed for us, and we'll suddenly see that all of it makes sense, and that journey that God is calling us, if we trust him, something will come from it. We won't be left with just bits and pieces on the floor. There will be something to show for it at the end, if we just trust in him. Amen.